very happy and honored to have Mr. Terrence Blanchard here. To tell you all the accomplishments he has, Grammy Award-winning film scoring, just an opera that I had the pleasure of playing along, which is amazing. So we're going to do two things today. He's going to kind of rehearse with the bands and play with the sandbar tomorrow night, and then we hope we're going to have a little time to do some Q&A or some other things that he might want to tell us. So how about a hand for the great Terrence Blanchard?
Yeah, but you can read off of Tavares.
You can read off mine.
No problem. That's just, I was all right, so this is what I'm going to do. I want to work with them just for a hot second. And while I'm doing that, you guys are thinking any questions you want to talk about performance and probably composition of that and so these guys. All right. things that I noticed while you're playing. So, first of all, the thing that you just played, that two thing in the background that you guys are working on, from an orchestration point of view, I'm talking about two things. From an orchestration point of view, it's one of those things where, you know, you come up with an idea, you say, this would be great to have this kind of thing happen behind the forms. But when you pull it off and when you rehearse it, you have to deal with the reality of what's going on. So the first thing that I thought about when you guys were going through it, I was like, man, it's going to be killing, right? But when you did it, I can't hear you. So you need to figure out a way to either have him do it or do something else. Because I do this all the time when I'm orchestrating. A lot of times when I'm writing for orchestra, and the same thing will apply for bass. I mean, for a small ensemble. When I'm writing for orchestra, the bass is carried about in the center. The big the body of it. But the cello's carried up. That makes sense. You know what I'm saying? And even if I don't do that, even if I harmonize the bass with the cellos, somebody else, if I really want it to come out, somebody else with a brighter tone is going to be carrying that note. So you can hear it. So you can hear the pitch, but you'll feel the body coming from the bass. So it's something you need to figure out. And the only thing I can think of, if these two are playing lines, was for him to do a maybe an octave like that, something like that. You know, just to try it, to see if that would work. Because you want to make it hear it. Because what it makes it seem like you're taking a drum solo.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's first. The other thing too is that try to figure out. So is that something that you said it's a rhythm that you picked up from somebody, right?
Yeah, it's partly transcribed, partly composed.
Okay, all right. So one of the things, like it's, and the reason why I'm on this, because I love stuff like that, but the key to all of that stuff is how does it communicate with the melody? You know what I'm saying? So what you should do, what I always do is when I'm writing, right, I put that stuff, I get a little anal about this kind of stuff, man. So I write all that stuff out. I write it on a brass stand so I can see everything. And then I'm trying to see where the accents are, right? And when I see where the accents are, if they're not lining up with that, I make adjustments. And when I say lining up, I don't necessarily mean that they hit every time where they play, but they hit where I want the statement to be. So if I want the statement to be right where they are, boom, it's going to be there. If I want the statement to be the reaction to them, it's going to be right after. You know what I'm saying? But when it just kind of goes, it sounds like two separate things, right? So it's a good idea, but you need to modify it to really fit what it is they're doing, and then orchestrate it so we can really hear it, right? So that's going to be your assignment for next week. But that's a common thing that happens in music and creation all the time. We always get ideas. Ideas are not the problem. And I tell people this all the time. Ideas are not the problem. It's how do you manipulate it, how do you develop it. That's the issue. Right? Because you're never going to have a shortage of ideas, because everybody's going to come up with something. But what most people say, hey man, I get to this one spot, man, and I just can't hear anything. Right? That's because you're trying to hear it, as opposed to trying to work on it. What the Bible says, seek and ye shall find. Not ye shall find. We always want divine guidance and just be thrusted upon us and say, make me brilliant, please. No, you gotta go out and work. I remember one time we saw Wayne Shorter in the airport in Spain. I'll never forget it, man. Asked him just for some advice about composition. One thing he said, I'll never forget it. He said it in the cryptic way Wayne talks, but I got what he meant. He said, you gotta go down in the basement and visit every door. So I know what that meant. I mean, you gotta do some work. So your idea, what you do, that's just the beginning. It's unfinished. I can tell you that right now. Now, the way it started, it's a cool thing, but it can really be great if you make those adjustments. right? Because what you're trying to do is enhance what it is that they're playing, and they're carrying over. And the thing is, and here's the thing about this, man, this is one of the reasons why I harp on this, because if you write that way, that's the way you're gonna play. It's the way you're gonna play. I'll tell you that right now. You know what I'm saying? So, when you start to write and make things work rhythmically, when you start to improvise and playing with somebody, it's gonna be the same thing, it's gonna be on your mind, because you're thinking like a composer. As opposed to just thinking like a person who's got 5 minutes to play a solo, and then get out the way for the next track. Who wants that? You may as well go to those Jamie Eagle songwriters. Put that label on, then you gotta pay for the other guys.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The whole idea about this, man, is that it's an interactive thing. You know, and that it sounds like one group. You know, and the crazy part about it is, it can happen. It happens all the time. We do it all the time, right? But you gotta be open to it. And one of the things about being open to it is, put your ego aside. You gotta put your ego aside. Kendrick Scott, man, he used to put on his sticks, be like water. As a reminder to himself. It's a Bruce Lee thing. Bruce Lee was talking about water adapts to anything you put it into. So be like water. Don't be like ice. It's the way you do it if it doesn't work. Get rid of it. Right? So, that's the first thing. Now, here's the other thing. Now, when you guys are playing and improvising on this tune, you gotta think the same way. You gotta think the same way. You gotta think like a composer, whether you're playing the solo or whether you're accompanying the solo. Now, here's a. I wish Kendrick was here. Kendrick does this thing, man, with rhythm section that I think is amazing. It's amazing because it's how he plays, and you can see it. What he does is he'll say, "Okay, let's play this tune," and then he'll count you off, and then he'll stop and say, "All right, let's play another groove. 1, 2, let's go." Stop. Boom. Okay, let's do another groove. So what it gets you in the habit of, thinking on your feet. What do jazz musicians say too often? Man, I'm just trying to feel the vibe. That's lazy. It's lazy. I'm here to tell you. Say, bro, man, I'm just trying to feel it, bro. You know, but it wasn't, you know, man, I don't know, bro. It wasn't coming to me. Right? That mentality has to be eradicated from the world of jazz. It has to be. Because in order for the music to make a perfect statement to an audience, it's got to be perfect up here. And when I mean perfect, I don't mean notes all of that. I'm talking about perfectly in sync, emotionally. You know what I'm saying? We all gonna make mistakes. Nobody cracks more notes than me. Right? But I'm cracking notes trying to get to something. All the time. Right? And I learned that from listening to Miles. So if the power of the message is strong, cracking up doesn't mean a damn thing. Doesn't. You know what I'm saying? But that's why the music and the power of what it is you have to play has to be strong. All right, so let's do a little example. Let's try it. So we're gonna do the piano solo, right? And I'm gonna step over here just for a second. I want to play that phrase. Oh, this is the other thing too. Hey man, I appreciate the fact that y'all are playing with dynamics because that's a lot of guys ready don't do that. So that's really good that you guys are doing that. When you do it, let me put it to you like this. When it got to the melody going out, I felt like the energy went like this. Whoop. And there's a difference between playing soft and playing with intensity. There's two different things. If you don't believe me, go listen to John Coltrane playing with what's that record? He played with Elvin Jones and it's Duke Ellington. You ever hear that record? Take the Coltrane. Go listen to that record. For the longest time, man, I thought Elvin was bashing. Woo! Woo! And then suddenly one day I just sat down and listened. He was tipping. But the intensity made it feel like it was like this. So, when you guys get to that part when you want to come down to pianissimo at the end, just think about it. It's the end of the tune. You don't want to get to the end of the tune, bro, and have no energy. You know what I'm saying? That's like being a boxer, bro. At the end of the fight, and he's like, just kick my butt. I can't do it. You want to be like that, right? So you want to play with intensity, even though it gets softer, the intensity has to be built like this, right? And one of the things our Becky used to tell the rhythm section all the time, make them go to their brains. You're not just back here as a palette. You're an integral part into what's going on. So play with it, right? And push it. And especially when he starts to do something in his solo, man, go with it. And I heard you doing that, right? But go with him in the more subtle ways. I'll point it out to you when you start playing. Right. Why don't we take that phrase right before his solo so he can get into it.
Yeah, 7. Is it 4/4 bar? Oh, I'm sorry, no, I'm calling you. Right here, 7.
So when you start that rhythmic thing, and you guys say, okay, that's where we're going, then go with it. Don't half-ass it. I kind of think this is it. No, jump in there. Because even if you make a mistake, you're going to make a mistake going someplace. You know what I'm saying? So, and then the other thing too, this is something that's real subtle, and I want you guys to pay attention to this, right? Because when you started playing the groove, y'all started playing it, he started playing the solo, and I'm like, cool. You started playing triplets against the thing, then he did it. Wasn't the other way around. So whose solo is it? It's the point that I'm trying to make. You know what I'm saying? So, you gotta get in the habit of saying, he's taking the lead, let me see where he's going. Now, here's the thing about it, there's a big misconception about this. When I talk about this, people think that I'm trying to get you locked in to playing a certain way and doing the same thing every time. No, it's not the case, right? If I come up here and I say, what's your name? I already know the club. Mark, how long you playing bass, Mark? Right, now did you have to think about that when I asked you a question?
Not much.
Mark, right, you just respond, right? That's what you gotta get when you're playing music. Jump in there and respond. Right? Don't try to talk over. Just respond. And the key part about it, I'm gonna tell you this right now, it's harder to do. That's the reason why people don't do it. I had a student who's a bass player. I'm not picking on you, but I'm just giving you an example. I had a student who was a bass player, and every time we would play a tune like this, he would go all over the place. See, what's cool about y'all is at least y'all were playing the groove. He would go all over the place, and I said, hey, man, can you just like settle down and play a groove? And he told me, oh no, man, I'm just trying to keep it open, man. See, I'm trying to keep it open. How many times you heard that? Right? Yeah, just because, you know, we want to be hip by keeping it open. I said, all right, but until we get to your level, can you just play a groove? Everybody else can learn the tune. That's what I found out. He couldn't play a groove.
Yeah, wow.
You see what I'm saying? So, you don't ever want to be too hip. Our baby always said too hip for making ass. Think about it. So you never want to be too hip. You just let you know. You got that hip, people looking at you like, man, Yes. All right, so now, let's play it again. Now this time, y'all play something different. Don't play the same thing when you get to the solo. And take charge. It's your solo. Follow him. That was beautiful what you started with. That was killing. I'm like, ooh, I gotta be in this world. And then you say, stop, boom, I'm done with that shit. Boom, why? You can stay in that world. You don't have to play the same thing, but investigate that frame of mind for a second. Don't just abandon something that you put out there. There's another big misconception too, and I want y'all to get over this one too. And Sonny Rollins played 20 courses and never repeated himself. So that's always on your mind. I gotta play a bunch of stuff to be great. I gotta play a bunch of ideas to be great. And the best way to do that is to develop one. If I were to walk in here right now, if I say, hey man, it's good to see you. Oh shit, man, my shoes. Oh man, yeah, I'm hungry as hell. If I were to do that verbally, y'all would say, oh man, this is kind of weird. But that's what you do musically all the time. You don't realize it. You do it musically all the time because you're playing from a set of things you practice. Right? As opposed to setting up an idea and trying to see where it goes. So that means you gotta investigate who? You. Not records. Not somebody else's view. But you gotta investigate yourself. All right, so let's try it again. So this time, don't abandon the idea, man. That was killing. So you set me up, but you set me up really, really. I was like, woo, woo. Let me sit down. Okay. But you saw when he started the song? Right? Bling, bling. Y'all made the assumption that he wanted to come down. You see what I'm saying? When he said bling, man, I've been woo! Green light. You know what I'm saying? But you always have a preconceived notion about, oh, this is where the tune is supposed to go. No, it's not. Who said? Who said? There's time, and the only reason why I'm telling you this is because I know when I had that band, that's how they played. Those guys played in such a way, they made me think about everything I played before I played it. Because I knew if I started my solo a certain way, that'd be your butt. Like if you didn't want to double time, don't double time on the beginning. Because they're like, oh, cool. Don't play free. If you go, Fabian. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is, throw away all the preconceived notions. Throw it away. It's hard. One of the things that was always hard for us as a group, and it still is, even with the electric band that I had, it still is having a good night. Because when you have the good night, man, you get to that next night, that good night is still on your brain. But you gotta throw it away. You gotta try to be your best. Sometimes it's impossible We're all human. But you gotta try to do your best to throw it away, to say, okay, let me see what's going on tonight. Right? So, you saw how I jumped up? I'm jumping up because I'm so accustomed to guys responding like that. It's like they do, it's like this. It's quick. It's not about, let me cool out, be cool, see what's happening. No. It's about being up on it and jumping on it, jumping on the idea, right? That's what makes music interesting. If you guys are fortunate enough to go on the road and be in a band that plays constantly, that's what makes it interesting. Because when we made that record, we had to play that music for a year, 2 years. Think about that, damn near every night. After a while, you're gonna get tired of it if it's doing the same thing every night. Whereas opposed to, man, I'm telling you, if he would have done that with Kendrick and Derek, or whoever was playing bass with us at the time, it would have been a done deal. We used to have this saying, and I'm gonna give it to you guys, make them pay. Make them pay. They want to jump out there and do some little cute idea, okay. That's what you feel? Cool, I'm here to support you. Bling, 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 bang, bang. And see where he gonna go from there. He probably gonna be shocked as hell. You know what I'm saying? That's what makes a group sound like a group. Because you're matching his intensity. You're not leaving him out there by himself. But that bang, bang, the rest of the band is down here, right? So it's a quick thing. Now, watch this. Let's see what happens now. Because now you don't know what's going on. Get ready. And don't you do the same thing. Okay. Cool. I want y'all to notice something. I already know. I don't even have to ask him. As soon as y'all did that, he said, bang, bang. He's like, oh, okay, bang. And I bet you in his mind, he's like, now how do I get out of this? So then he started to play that other little thing, and then it wasn't working. So he went back to ding, 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 and started playing the thing in the left hand. Right? It was more of like continuing the idea. And just as I stopped y'all, this is a clinic. I stopped y'all, they started to applaud. Why? Because you moved them as a group. Right? They're sitting here, it's a clinic. They want to sit down and see what's going on and get some information, ask some questions. And in the midst of that, you guys play something and they go, woo. That's what music is supposed to do. All the time. Okay? All right, I'm gonna leave this too long. I'm gonna do this for y'all so y'all can watch this, because some of the stuff that we're talking about is habit. And man, Ellis Marcellus used to make us do this exercise. I make all my students do it. You know, what we play rhythm changes. Okay? Sounds easy enough, right? Why you looking like that? Rhythm change. All right, so we're gonna put rhythm change. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna trade sixes instead of fours. Okay? The reason for that is because everybody trades fours. So jazz musicians get in the habit of not thinking and not counting. They just react because you can feel where the four is, and then harmonically it resolves. But if I take that away from you, now you gotta count. Okay? Here's the one caveat. You can't just play what you want to play. Whoever takes the first solo sets the tone. So whatever idea that person plays, next person gotta carry it, and it goes, it should sound like one solo going throughout the entire band. Uh-oh, here we go. Yeah, come on up here and sing. That's right. Okay? You ready? You want to try it? Who's going to take the first solo? Yeah, smart man. Smart man.
Right on the sixes. Let's start with the sixes.
You start first. We'll play a melody. Let's play a melody. We can get her to sing with us. Play a melody, right? And then at the top of the chorus, sixes. And we're going to go like this. All right? Clockwise. So the drummer gets 6-2. Okay. Whatever hit y'all want to do.
Yeah. One, two.
You was ready though. You came in on the six.
Yeah.
Like 1, 2, 3, 4. I ain't gonna miss that.
You want to start or what's up? All right. Go ahead. All right. Bro, just right on the top of the solo chord. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, I forgot about that part. Yeah.
Easy counting.
Yeah, well, that's the reason. Listen, man, this exercise is not, it ain't music. I'm gonna tell you right now, it ain't music, right? This is a mental exercise. It's an exercise, that's all it is. All right, let's go again.
Sorry. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
idea is not to play the first part of what she plays and then play the rest of it where you want to be.
Just gotta keep it going.
Yes. Oh, I forgot to tell y'all the main part too. It's supposed to go up a half step every quarter.
I don't know, I guess I'm playing that.
Now that I told you that, your brain is like this, right? It shouldn't be. You should be able to go, oh, okay, cool. You know what I mean? So that should tell you how much habit is involved in what some musicians do. But the great ones don't.
Don't show that habit.
They don't have that habit. They don't have that habit. They got good habits.
Yeah.
Good habits are constantly trying to push the envelope, constantly trying to see what's next, constantly trying to upgrade the intellect all the time. I played with Herbie Hancock, man. This is almost 10 years ago now. We were on tour. He was about 68 at the time. And the dude was still searching, man. We wanted to play Speak Like a Child, one of his tunes. He said, cool. He came up with a whole new arrangement of it that had odd meter in it, and we harmonized the whole thing. We thought we were just gonna come up there and play the tune because we knew it. He said, no. You see what I mean? So if Herbie's doing that, and he's already had a career that's put his name out there, he's already has hits that we've all learned, and he's still doing that, then that should be an indication for everybody else. Okay? All right, so let's go.
You want to start?
Now I'm gonna tell you something, with all of my students, the challenge has always been to see how far you can go. I had one class made it through all 12 keys. Ooh, silence. You know another thing too about this too, man? You know that I've always find fascinating, whenever I start this thing and I let the guys count it off, they count it off at a slow tempo. But if it were just rhythm changes, they'd go, but when I tell them you gotta try sixes, it's funny how that happens. Okay, let's go.
One. One, two, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Okay? So that should prove to you how much habit is involved in what you do. Habit. Right? So I'm not going to belabor the point, but this is something as an ensemble, man, I tell all my ensembles, warm up doing this. Just come in when you have rehearsal, all right, but let's hit the sixes. Boom. Do it and see how far you can go, and then go and get to the rest of the rehearsal. It's a mental thing, bro. It's a mental thing. And that's one of the things that I had to learn. I had to learn that the greatest musicians on the planet are not lazy. They're not. I did a record with Joe Henderson, man. With Joe Henderson, we were out grabbing lunch. And I said, oh man, Joe, his food, he said, let me go grab it. I go back in the studio, there's Joe Henderson sitting at the piano with the changes to the tune going through them on the piano. We did a thing when I was at the Monk Institute, and we recorded with the students, and we wanted to record their music, and we had Herbie, Wayne, and myself record with the students. Wayne showed up, pulled out his horn, and he was warming up in the corner, and when we were like, woo, check out Wayne. But when we listened to what he was doing, he was playing the changes to one of the tunes he was going to work on that day with the students. He knew it. Not being lazy. You want to give yourself the best chance possible to express yourself. So why cheat it? Why sit there and say, oh, bro, because this is what happens a lot of times, and I don't want you guys to be like this. Oh, man, I got a gig on Saturday. Oh, cool, man, can you make it? Yeah, I can make it. So what we're going to do? Oh, bro, we just call some tunes. I know that happens. You don't have to do that. If you're really curious about music and you hire some dudes you like to play with, why not investigate your music with those guys? Right? We get too involved in all of the other stuff that has nothing to do with music. Oh man, he want me to rehearse, man, I ain't getting paid. Then you're not about music. It's that simple. Dave Holland called me, man, one time, to come and just sit in with their band. They were having a jam session, like rehearsal. This is when he had Steve Coleman, Smitty Smith, Kevin Eubanks, and but anyway, Smitty Smith was the drummer. So, you think I sat down and said, how much is it paid? No. I was there, on time, getting my butt kicked by all of that odd meter music. Walking away with every copy, so I can sit down and say, if you ever call me again, that ain't gonna happen again. You see what I'm saying? If you are truly about music, be about that. Don't be about something else, being cool, trying to be on the scene, all of that other stuff. Because I'm gonna tell you, man, that's a short-lived career. All of the guys that are still around, Wayne, Herbie, all of the guys, even before they died, man, like Freddie, Woody Shaw, all of those guys, man, they were about music. We were on a bus when I was with Art Blakey. We were on a bus ride in Europe with Woody Shaw's band. I woke up, Woody Shaw is sitting in the bus, literally like this. What does that mean? He's figuring something out. That's why he's Woody Shaw. You know what I'm saying? He's not sitting there talking about, yo, man, that hang last night was killing it. He wasn't doing that. Not at all. You know what I'm saying? Wayne Shorter, bro. I was just with Wayne Shorter in Chicago, right? And we were at this event. And I'm sitting next to Wayne. Wayne's writing an opera. Not because nobody commissioned him to, because he wants to. You see what I'm saying? So be about music. Okay, so now, I haven't heard you sing yet, so why don't we do something with you singing?
Yeah, what? Sunny side.
Is it your the arrangement of the sunny side?
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm gonna talk about that in a minute. Yeah. Okay.
We did it midnight.
Because it's not my arrangement. It's Cassandra's. But I'm gonna tell you about it. It's Cassandra's arrangement. No. It's a common. Yeah.
It should be up there. It's basically.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but it's not right.
It's that, but that's the only thing you have right there. It's just the changing.
It should be with us.
They say it's a different key.
Well, just in D minor instead.
It's an arrangement too.
It's the arrangement. It's more so the harmonic structure.
That's it. But she doesn't need that.
Yeah.
It's all around. It's new here.
I mean, you will. Yeah.
Just
there's a lot of things I want to talk about, and here, I'm gonna start with you first, in the solo. And and it's gonna wind up being related to you too, from when you do your improvisation. One of the things I'm always fascinated by is like the same thing I told him. You start your solo with a great idea, but just because the chords change, it makes your idea change. Right? Because you say, oh, I want to play whatever the turnaround is, right? You know, you say, oh, I want to play this chord. So then you start playing a lick that goes with that chord. As a listener, it takes me away from what it is you're doing. So, in a minute, when we start again, and if I forget, remind me because I talk a lot. I want you to start your solo and play one idea throughout the entire chorus. That's another exercise to do, right? Because it's going to force you to say, okay, well, where those notes fall on these chords? Where those notes fall on this chord? If I want to keep that rhythmic thing with the same shape. If I had a board up here, I can show you what Roger Dickinson showed me called If I Could Tell You I Would. It's what I use to compose. It's how I learned how to write for orchestra, and it's how I learned how to improvise, really. It's really the same thing that I kind of use, and it's the thing that I teach all the time. Okay, so having said that, the next thing about this tune is a couple of things. You were a little unfamiliar with the arrangement when you started, right? Even with that, you still make music. And you got there because you got comfortable with it later on. But like at the beginning, like when she was singing the melody, man, when she stopped singing, there's a big hole musically. So just go in there and try. Look, bro, you might find some hip stuff. Blakey said jazz was invented because somebody messed up. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes when you mess up, right, you know, Herbie always talks about, you know, sometimes he just does like this, boom. And wherever his hands fall, he said, now I gotta figure out how to get out of it. And he does that as a challenge to himself. Think about that. You know what I'm saying? Remember I was telling you about the furthering the intellect? Yeah. In this thing? All right, so that's one thing. So even if you don't know it, man, look, just play something behind it. You may play something with people, man, keep that. Or you might play something, man, who is that? Playing the piano. Don't bring it back. No, that ain't happening, because you can really play. So here's the other thing too. So now, with that groove, boom, bang, that's the pulse of it, right? So even if you want to embellish, if he's still playing that, bang, bang, boom. Don't totally abandon it, right? Because you still want, it's syncopation, dude. You still want to have that inside of what's happening with the group. Because that's what the audience is feeling. That's what you set them up with. He started off by playing the bass line. So if you started off by playing the bass, boom, 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 boom. So what's the core of that? Boom, 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 boom. The other thing is the feel. Boom, 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 bam, boom, 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 boom. Back it up, bang, back it up, bing, ba, 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 bang, ba, 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 bing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? Because then you keep them in pulse going, right? And then that goes back to what I was telling you about that bass player, about knowing really where the groove is. Because if you really know where the groove is, you can hit that every time, right? And it'll be funky as hell. Because the thing about it, what makes people groove is what? Well, we know. We know that time and pulse is all based off of our heart, the rhythm of our heartbeats, right? So if what you're playing is wavering, you know, they're gonna ask for some clear, boom, get it back in rhythm. You know what I mean? You don't want that. Okay, so that's another thing. Your bass solo, same thing I was telling him, right? You got good sound, man, you got good feel. So try it. We're gonna do it again. I want everybody to just take one idea. I don't care what happened. Just take one idea and just do that, okay? So that's essentially the same thing I was gonna tell you, because when I heard you improvise, you were on the changes, which was cool, but I heard you searching like, I wasn't sure, let me just put it this way, because maybe you do. I wasn't sure that you really knew every note that you were singing, which is fine, because Lord knows I don't know every note I play sometimes, right? Which is okay, but as an exercise, I do this with all my vocal students, man. Sit down at the piano and try to, and you can write this out if you need to. You guys know who Mark Turner is? Great saxophone player? Mark has I don't know if he still does it, but back when he was playing with me, he used to have like notebooks and notebooks of like etudes that he wrote out for himself on changes. Think about that. We keep, like I said, remember I keep saying, we keep waiting for divine guidance. But one day I'm really just gonna hear all these chords. No, you're not. Not if you do them, you don't do the work. So what you should do with a tune like this, okay, let's make that a thing because we're playing tomorrow. So tonight, when you go home, take two phrases. Thank you. Take two phrases, right? Write them out all over the changes, and then practice them with your voice. Practice them sitting down playing them as you're singing it, right? And then sing it without you playing it, right? Because what we're doing is training your ear. And what we're doing is training your ear with looking at the notes. There's a visual relationship. You know what I mean? I always feel for singers, trust me. I wanted to sing. You know, my dad was a baritone. He sang operatic music. They heard me singing and told me to go get my horn. You know, in church. I was hurt. That stigma stuck with me to this day. But anyway, it's something to try, okay? All right, so you gonna do that for me? Two phrases. Okay, you know I'm gonna be listening tomorrow. I may not say nothing to you, but I'll be like this. All right, so now let's do his solo, and her solo on this tune. One idea. One. So I noticed on some of the chords, when the chords were changing, you laid out. Right? And that's fine if you're laying out for artistic reasons. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Just if I'm in a rehearsal with a band and I'm trying to learn this, I try to hit those. Even though I may never play it in a gig. You know what I'm saying? And it's just because I want to know physically. I want to internalize it where the chords change. And how to manipulate that, right? I don't want to always say, oh, so I guess what I'm saying is I don't want to put the cart before the horse. You know what I'm saying? Again, I don't want to be too hip before it's time. So when you're practicing, don't worry about what you're sounding like, dude. It's practice, this is rehearsal. One of the things that I always tell this story, man. When I first met Kenny Garrett, man, he was the most pattern playing person on the planet. But used to drive us crazy. Like if he would come out and sit in on a jam session, Kenny be like, say, all right, dude, what's up with that? And later on, we heard him play that version of Giant Steps he plays. So you feel me? There was a method to his madness. The next time you heard me, I was going, I said, man, if it does all that. So, Reginald Veal, when he was playing with us, man, he kept wanting to play There's No Greater Love. Why the hell you want to play No Greater Love? Because he'd been working on it all day. And he was trying to figure out something, right? So that's what I'm saying, man. Use this stuff as a vehicle. And I'm gonna hammer this home for everybody here. There's a huge misconception about being a jazz artist. Huge. And the misconception is that it just comes to you. It doesn't, without you putting forth some effort. If it did, how many jazz musicians would there be? They'd be all over the place. You know what I'm saying? You know why John Coltrane wrote Giant Steps and Countdown. You know why, right? Had problems playing chords that changed every 2 beats. He solved the problem by doing something creative. He saw the problem, right? I love that. We do that all the time. If you notice, man, there's a certain period in my career, I didn't play no odd meter. The next thing you know, I'm playing odd meter stuff all the time because I got my ass kicked with Dave Holland. And I never forgot that. So then when Eric Holland and them joined the band, they want to play stuff for 5, and then Aaron Parks want to play stuff for 7. Y'all were just playing pitch stack sitters, right? I'm like, okay, cool, let's go with it. I'm down for it. I wrote a tune in 11. You know what I mean? Because I was having issues dealing with that. The audience doesn't know. We're still trying to make music, and we're still trying to convey a statement. We're still trying to make an artistic statement. So we're combining both things, making an artistic statement with growing as an artist, right? So just be on your game, constantly. All right, bro. Let's try you, Martin. Wasn't that musical? Right? And you follow it as a listener, right? The only thing I would tell you is when you get to the turnaround, as an exercise, don't play turnaround stuff. Still try to play everything. When you play the gig, play turnaround stuff. That's the only thing. You know what I'm saying? Because you really want to try to make sure that you're going to... And I get this from Wayne Shorter, bro. We were playing footprint, well, he was playing Montreal with his band. Messed me up, bro. One of the things you never want to do, if you got to play after Wayne Shorter, don't listen to Wayne Shorter. When Herbie and them played at Jazz Fest and I played after them, man, I was in the trailer with headphones on. The guys go, man, I'm going to go out there and listen to Herbie and Wayne. I'm like, y'all go ahead, bro. I ain't doing that. Because Wayne got me that night. We were in Montreal. We was playing footprint. When he got to the turnaround, you know what he played? That's what he played on the turnaround. Had the whole audience screaming. You see what I'm saying? Where he was keeping the idea moving, not playing what people were expecting. Okay? So these are little mental things that you can do on a daily basis. This is mental stuff. Listen, bro. My wife hates going to the movies with me sometimes because I put my arm around her and all of a sudden she starts to feel. Yeah. So I'm just saying that to say there's mental stuff you can be working on all the time. You know what I mean? So just remember, just don't do it when you're having a conversation with your significant other. That's the only thing. Really pay attention. Yeah, that gets you in trouble. Okay, all right, yes.
Should I go through the whole form? Because I was coming back in with the lyrics at the...
No, I know. I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that. Yes, because I want you to be able to do the whole form, even though you're not going to do it on the gig. You know what I'm saying? You want to have that burning desire. So, man, give me a whole chorus. You know what I'm saying? Okay, let's go. We're going to do questions after this. Start up, then you went dee-dee-dee-doo-dee. That was cool. The third one is the one I got you. Because if you're going to go down that dee-dee-dee-doo-dee, keep the idea moving. You know what I'm saying? All right, try it again. That was good, though. That's what I began. Now I'm gonna get on you, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because I had this conversation with Herbie and Wayne maybe about 10 years ago. One of the things we kept talking about in education, we kept saying, we complain about jazz singers, but we're not educating them, right? So it's one of the reasons why I'm a little tough on jazz singers, right? Because you guys come up with great ideas, right? And then you say, hey man, can you write the arrangement for me? I don't know if you do that, I'm not sure. But I've worked with other vocalists who have done that. And the reason why I'm saying that is because of what you're playing right now. Cassandra Wilson came up with this arrangement. Because when we only wanted her to do the one song, right? And she said, hey man, let's do Sunny Side of the Street. I'm like, really? A trumpet player from New Orleans, Sunny Side of the Street? I don't think I want to touch that. You know what I'm saying? That's just me. And she goes, no, we don't have to do it like that. We don't have to do it like that. And then she started singing, boom, bam, boom, beep, boom, 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 bing, boom, boom. Why don't we start there? And she came up with the groove. And then she started singing the melody on top of that. She knew exactly what she was. So now we got an arrangement that we would have never come up with. You see what I'm saying? So my fascination, and it's just my own little personal thing, how many great compositions and arrangements we have missed out on because vocalists won't sit down and deal with that instrument. You see what I'm saying? Because you're bringing something else to the music anyway. Why not bring it in full force? I had a student in Miami, vocalist. You know, man, I made her sit down at the piano and do stuff. Gretchen Parlato, I made her sit down. John A. Kendricks, I made them sit down when she was here, when we were at Loyola. Oops. At a nice university that happens to be in the city. But the thing about it is that they bring something else to it through that experience, right? Because one of the things I don't want any of my vocal students to do is to say, hey man, can you write this arrangement for me? No. And the reason for that is because you're dealing with that person's point of view.
Yeah, it's their filter then.
Yes. Whereas you probably, I don't know if you've had that experience, and you probably will be sitting there going, yeah, but that ain't the sound I'm hearing, and then you can never get to it. Yes, I know. I went through it with some of my other students, and the thing that I tell them is, sit down and learn this instrument. Sarah, I saw myself with my own eyes. Carmen McRae went to Tony Bennett's show at the Blue Note in New York. No, I'm sorry. It was Tony Bennett had come to Carmen McRae's show. That's what it was. It was her show. Tony Bennett comes up to sing with her. Guess what she does? She sat at the piano and played for her. Betty Carter used to say, oh, if I'm gonna learn this tune, don't sing it for me, give me the music. And she would sit at the piano and learn it herself so she could come up with her own arrangement based on what it is she was feeling by listening to it. So she didn't want to be corrupted by your point of view. And she's one of the most original jazz vocalists of all time. You see what I'm saying? So I'm hard on vocalists about this because I feel like you guys can bring something to it that instrumentalists constantly overlook because they're too busy trying to play too many notes. When's the last time you heard an instrumentalist come up and play a solo and go, biddy-liddy-diddy, booms, and that's all they do? Never. They start out that way, but by the end of it, you're doing all of that, right? So do us a favor and do the work. Because as listeners, we deserve it. As an artist, it should be demanded of you. Sarah Vaughan, when she played with Billy Eckstein's band, she could sit at the piano and play. You know what I'm saying? All of these people I'm talking about, listen, we ain't gonna even get into Ella Fitzgerald. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Look at Diana Krall. She plays the piano, so look how she sings. Because she plays the piano. And I'm not asking you to be Oscar Peterson. Even though that was very, I just realized what that was. Yeah. You could be him too. But you get what I'm saying, right? Yeah. Okay. But good work. Listen, man, and listen. The thing that's cool about what we talked about, these are all advanced concepts. Notice we didn't sit down and talk about how do you play scales or chords, relationships. None of that, right? So all of the stuff that we've been talking about, you should feel proud about because it's next level stuff. It's what it is. And I'm gonna tell you this right now. A lot of this is stuff that the other guys don't talk about. I had to figure it out on my own by watching them, listening to them, and then checking them out doing certain things. Watching Herbie Hancock warm up with this technical exercise that ain't got nothing to do with jazz. Watching him listening to classical music. Clark Terry, all of those dudes, right? And then when you start to piece it all together, you start to realize, man, these dudes are working all the time. Trying to get better all the time. Look at Dizzy Gillespie. When Dizzy Gillespie was older, he couldn't play as high as he used to play, but check out how his harmonic sense changed. Check out the note choices he made as an older Dizzy versus a younger Dizzy. Just do the research yourself. Just check it out. You don't have to believe me. You know? One of the things I love about all of those guys is that whenever I was blessed enough to be around them, they talked about music. They ain't talk about women. They ain't talk about drinking. They ain't talk about none of that. They talked about music. I'll never forget, I was in a all-star band with all these guys, Al Gray, Clark Terry, Virgil Jones. It was a bunch of musicians. Benny Carter was on the gig. It was like an all-star thing. And in the dressing room, they started saying, man, you know, everybody played the wrong bridge to so-and-so and so that ain't the bridge. The bridge is really, and I'm checking this out and I'm going, these dudes are like in the twilight of their career. And they're in the dressing room still fascinated by music. That was the lesson for me then, you know? So I just want to impart that on you. You never get there. It's not even about getting there. It's about the journey, right? Because soon as you get there, you don't realize you got there if you still got your eyes focused on something forward. You see what I'm saying? It takes other people to come by and say, hey man, I remember when you did, you go, oh damn, right. You know? I used to hear people make a joke about it, but it's really true. You know, because I've seen it with Herbie and all those guys. They probably have forgotten more music than most people have learned. Because they're so obsessed. And that's the word I think I should use. They are obsessed. It's like driven, passion. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not talking about that kind of passion where you go out to be out at a party and you're trying to relax and then somebody wants to talk. No, because when they're out relaxing, they're relaxing, dude. So I'm not talking about that. That fake stuff where everybody got to see you doing it. No, I'm talking about the stuff they do when nobody's watching. The stuff they do at home by themselves. That you see the fruits of later on when they perform, and you wonder how they got there, but you go, man, that guy is just, no, he ain't just that. While he was home, while you were chilling, he was home working. It's about the work you do by yourself, man. It's not about being out front of everybody, it's about trying to have a conversation. Hey man, you know, so-and-so, and blah, 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 and I heard so-and-so, and when I'm at a party and dudes do that to me, I'm like, yeah, okay, dude. Because that's what we call interview music. It's interview music. It's that music that sounds better when you're talking about it. Okay? All right, so I said I was going to open it up to questions. Good work. Y'all keep doing it. We're going to have fun tomorrow. And listen, I'm telling you now. Listen, so I know I talked about a lot of stuff, but when we play tomorrow, we're going to have fun. It's about having fun. You know what I mean? I ain't, you know, listen, I'm hard on people, but nobody like to have more fun playing music than me. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I don't care what situation I'm in. I don't care who I'm playing with. I wanna have fun. Because life's too short. I'm 56. I feel like I got here in 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? I feel like 2 weeks ago, I was on this stage doing a high school recital. High school concert with the concert man, with Mr. Dumborian. Seemed like it was 2 weeks ago. So why sit down and waste it? You know what I mean? Enjoy yourself. Any got questions in the audience? Anybody? Or do you guys have questions? I don't know. Anybody?
I have a question.
Yes.
How do you market yourself playing, creative, aggressive music?
Yeah, exactly.
That is the question of the century. How do you market yourself playing creative music? To be honest, bro, I don't know. And I'm just being honest. Because when I came along, they had marketing firms, you had record companies, and the record companies could do their thing and put your name out there. And when you would go to Tower Records, you'd see your stuff and people would get to know you. And then, they would do a heavy rotation on radio and people would hear your stuff all the time. And it was like a concerted effort. Now it's so foreign for me and I'm learning more about it. I've just got an album that's going to be released on the 20th. And, it's all about digital marketing. It's digital marketing. And what's crazy is now the digital marketing firms look like what the record companies used to look like. I go up to a record company and I'm signed to Blue Note Records. Man, I go up there, man, it's like a ghost town. There's not that many people that work there anymore. But if you go to the digital marketing company, man, it's like cubicles everywhere. People are busy. So that seems to be the thing. And I'm learning about it. I am. I know it's gonna sound stupid, but I'm just learning how to operate Instagram, bro. You know what I mean? And I put up something the other day by mistake. I'm like, damn, how do you undo this? You know what I mean? Just had to delete the whole thing. But I have a nephew that's working in television production in LA. And when I was out there working on a film project, man, this dude, creatively, he has it down, and that seems to be the way things are going these days. He says, so he called me Uncle Bro, because I called him, I'm like, yo, bro, what's up? So he called me Uncle Bro. He says, Uncle Bro, so if you do a photo shoot here at the hotel, make sure you tag your thing and get the hotel to put it on their website, and then you can do some cross-pollination that way. And if you go out here, make sure that you get the okay from these people, he's got this cross-marketing thing down. You know, because even if you take the picture there, then you got their website, you got your website, and if there's any product, you got that, whatever is in the photo. And he does it all. You know what I mean? Because he's working on this cool idea of this digital devices development. So, I mean, that's about the best answer I could give you on that, man. Because it's such a different world now, and I feel like it's constantly evolving. It's changing like day by day, it seems like, you know. Okay, anybody else? Yes?
So when you're composing film music, do you do it specifically on the computer or do you write it?
Right now, I do it on the computer because some of the film music that I write, it's not, with the opera I'm writing, man, that's all by hand. Everything, it's by hand. I'm sitting at the piano, working out the ideas. Film music, I've gotten to the point where I have my palette of sounds. I have 3 computers that I use. 1 main computer, 2 satellites for like sound design and stuff like that. And I'll look at a thing and just intellectually, I'll know what it is. I'm like, okay, melodically, I want to do this here. Okay, I want to change the harmony when it gets to this spot. Boom, 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 boom. So I don't need to sit down and put it on paper. Only time when I get to paper is when I need to like really figure some stuff out that I just can't automatically see. But you see, here's the thing about that though. That's me. But I always tell my students, start off with pencil and paper. And the reason for that is because there's a connection that you make to music when you have to sit down and write it. There's a certain type of thing, like now we're dealing with the opera, I'm working on my second one right now, and if you come up to my house, there's like paper all over the place. You know, because I'm really trying to figure out how to write for these voices, and then the phrases, because it's opera and because it's libretto, it's not like writing a 32-bar song, you know, so it's like free-flowing stuff. So I have to figure out all of this stuff and keep track of everything, right? So having the music right in front of me is like paramount for me. Just this morning, I was working on this one little thing, and I said, oh, okay, that phrase, where's the other part? I went back, and I said, oh, okay, this is the harmony that I use for that. And then I changed a couple of notes, you know what I mean? So I think, but by me having that experience of being able to deal with paper, that's why when it comes to film music, which so far the stuff that I've done, there's a project that I may work on later this year that's going to be involved, so brother will be pulling out paper and pencil for that film, probably. But for some of the other stuff, you know, like Spike's thing, we just did that Black Klansman, right? He wants like these very melodic themes to use in different scenes. And I know what it is. I've been dealing with his stuff for so long, I know exactly what it is. And then I get to the point now, even in Digital Performer, if I'm doing it in the computer, I still have the transcribe page up. You know what I mean? So I'm still looking at music. I'm still looking at the notes on the page. So I can see the relationships between anything. Because sometimes when I'm writing stuff and I'm doing a random way, something's off. And then I look back and I go, oh, that's because this harmony is dictating this type of sound, but this note in the phrase is coming from another type. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
How do you engage in these sort of non-jazz or these classical music collaborations? You've got a commission coming up with the Kronos Quartet. It's like an evening-length piece for quartet. How do you find your way into that?
Well, it's one of those things where I firmly believe what you put out there is what comes back. You know, Roger Dickinson used to tell me that all the time, you know, and when I was a kid, he used to ask me questions. What do you see yourself doing 10 years from now? And I used to tell him, I said, I remember the first time he asked me that, I said, I see myself having people in my band from all over the world, learning about music from all over the world, you know, and that's exactly what started happening. You know, we had people from Benin, Venezuela, you know, all different types of places, Europe, you know, in the group. The other thing is that I always wanted to write for larger ensembles, right? I always said that. And I put that out there in the universe as something that I wanted to do while I'm working hard. See, I believe it's a twofold thing. You put something out there as an intention, and you stick with it, and you keep working hard, and next thing you know, it's already done. You're moving on to something else. So all of a sudden, here I am. I played, literally, this is what happened. there was a young lady who was a vocalist who wanted Miles Davis to play on the track. She couldn't get Miles. So she asked me to do it, right? I played the solo with a harmony. Lenny White was the drummer, he was producing the track. The track wound up in one of Spike's movies, right? Spike, I'm walking into the session, I happen to be hired as a session player on school days. I walk in, man, I was Laker down because I was a Laker fan. I had the purple hat, I had the t-shirt, yeah, man, oh yeah, that was back in the days, Magic, baby, you know. So I had the Converse, and they had just beat Boston too, and I was about it. So when I walked in, Spike goes, Lakers fan, huh? I said, yeah, what about it? But he remembered that I was the guy that did the solo. So we just kind of vibed, right? And the next thing you know, I'm sitting down playing the piano, and he goes, man, what's that? And I said, it's something I'm working on. Then we used it in the film, and then he asked me to write a string, you see what I mean? So he asked me to write a string arrangement for it. Once I wrote a string arrangement for it, the next thing you know, he called me to do Jungle Fever. Then I'm doing Malcolm X. So now I'm doing all of this film stuff, right? And that's how it started. I come back here to talk to Roger about it, and I said, man, you know, I'm having all these projects, and I was really excited about it. And Roger was the one who said, that's great that you're getting experience writing for orchestra, because you need that experience to do other things. I couldn't see it at the time. I'm thinking, what is he talking about, man? I'm working in Hollywood, you know, this is great, you know. The next thing you know, somebody calls me to write an opera. The LPO called me to do a commission for them. Kronos wants me to do something with them. I'm writing another opera. I have another commission to do for Cleveland University, right? And then it's getting to the point now where some of the things I have to turn down because I don't have time to do it. So that's why I'm always telling students, man, I'm like, listen, if you see me doing stuff, you could be doing this, because I'm no different than anybody. I used to sit out in this very building, man, you know, even in Loyola too, when they would have like math classes like this. Come on, man, me, Went, and Branford, Donald, we would always be there. When we were in high school, we'd be the first guys there, all the time. I remember one time we drove all around the city. We heard Stanley Terrence was doing a math class, and we could never find it, boy, but damn, we drove all around the city. Maybe over here, bro, let's go over here, you know? yeah, we ain't had that. Yeah, no, we ain't had Google. Google was that one dude who knew everything. Yeah. Say, bro, where is it? I don't know. Okay, that was our Google. So I'm saying that to say that, you know, you never know what life has in store for you, but you should be prepared. The best thing somebody ever told me was that the definition of luck is when preparation meets opportunity. That's the best definition of luck I ever heard. Because people always want to say, oh man, he was lucky. Oh, he was lucky. Okay, well maybe, yeah, something did break his way, but he didn't fold. He stepped up to the plate, you know? I heard people say that about Wynton when he was young. Oh, he was lucky. I'm like, yeah, but he could play. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about being prepared. It's all about that, and it's about what you put out there. If I want, since I said that I wanted to write for larger ensembles, that's a lot of what I've been doing in my life, you know. And it's been a great experience, you know. But the thing about it too, and I'm glad the way that it's happened, the way that it has, because you can tell somebody's looking out for me because it's been step-by-step process. If somebody would have asked me to write an opera when I first started, it would have never happened. But because I've had this experience in writing for orchestra, and right as I seem like I've gotten to the point where I'm comfortable writing for that, somebody asked me to write for voices. And then I did that. Now that I've had that experience of writing for voices, I've learned so much, it's informing what I'm doing for the next one. And your career is just a series of events like that. You know, I always tell young people too, man, if you get a chance and you're blessed enough to make your first recording, don't trip. One of the biggest mistakes young musicians make is to try to put everything in the first recording. It's a recording career. So that means that when you listen to Miles playing with Bird, you have not heard all of Miles. You heard where Miles was at that time. You see what I'm saying? So, and one of the things that has always happened to me, man, making records, and it still happens to this day. As soon as I finish, there's a whole bunch of clarity that comes over my brain. And then what it took me a while to realize was, that's the next project. Stop beating yourself up about it's not on this project. That's the next project. And the reason why you're feeling this way is because you had this experience making this project. You see what I'm saying? Being an artist, man, it's always, it's a journey. Like I was saying earlier, it's a journey. You know, and the thing about it, you gotta have fun with it too. Anybody else? No questions? Yes, sir.
How involved were you when you were writing, posting for like films with like the actual film? You just like handed the final film?
Yeah, I mean in film, and that's the thing that's so different from film and opera. In film, they basically find me. Spike is the only one. Spike is the only. Well, and this other woman I'm getting ready to work with, Casey Lemons. Spike and Casey Lemons, they're the only people that like give me scripts before they start to shoot. They're the only people. Everybody else, film composition is an afterthought. You know, they start editing the movie and they go, oh, we need music. You know, and then they'll find you. You know, but generally, even with Spike giving me the script, I'm not involved in the filmmaking process. You know, when we did Miracle at St. Anna, they were in Italy shooting, and man, he would send back pictures of stills from various scenes just so I could get a flavor. And Spike is always, you know, Spike should be a coach, you know, because he likes to hype you up. He'll send me the picture and he'll like, get ready, you know. Yeah, you know, right, yeah. Same thing with this last one we just did, Black Klansman. This is gonna have to be your Malcolm X, man. You get back to that. I'm like, okay, cool. But once I get it, it's mostly shot. And the cool thing about with Spike is that Spike is a very definitive filmmaker, and by what I mean by that is like, when he edits, man, he knows what he's looking for and he knows what he's doing. You know, there's some guys I've worked with, they'll edit a film and then they look at it and go, oh, it's all wrong, and start like chopping it all up, and it becomes like this mad dash to like make all of these changes. But opera is totally different. Totally different. The scenes are in my head. You know what I mean? There's nobody showing me anything. I'm sitting at the piano, pencil and paper, imagining what the scene's gonna, and there's the scripted stuff in the libretto, but I'm imagining what it's gonna be like. So opera really fascinates me, man, because, you know, you write this stuff and then all of a sudden people are walking around stage singing your melodies. It's a crazy experience, you know? Anybody else? Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, so talking about like having written classical music and also obviously done jazz, like what do your charts look like when you play with a jazz band?
What do I do?
Well, like what do your charts look like when you pass them out for like your jazz groups?
Oh, my stuff, when I'm writing for a jazz ensemble, man, it's always a process, you know? So, and I've had to learn how to not do that for orchestral stuff. Like we just did a workshop in St. Louis with these singers for the next opera. And one of the things that they were looking for were tempo shifts and all of that kind of stuff. And I'm like, we just kind of do that naturally, you know? If somebody starts to retort, the guys will follow, you know? But they want to have all of that stuff indicated. So when I'm writing for my band, it's not as detailed like that. I mean, you know, I'm gonna have melody, harmony, and all of that stuff. And I'll have accents and some dynamics and all of that. But in terms of like all of the specific things like that, I don't get into that. Because the thing about having a jazz ensemble that I love is that the guys in my band know way more than I do. So I always give them a lot of room to put stuff in there. We're working on this documentary here in New Orleans, and it's going to be called Up From the Streets. And it's about how the street music has influenced music around the world. And with my electric band, we were using that band as an example of some of the stuff. So There's one tune that I wrote called Chaos, which is on the next CD that we did a recording of, but when we start playing it, it starts with a piano introduction. Man, and when Fabian, he's been getting into like electronic stuff, so he runs an acoustic piano through his laptop, right? And he creates all of these different types of effects, and he did 3 of them, 3 introductions, and we can't pick which one we want. Because they're all very different, right? And the cool thing about it is, if I were to say, hey man, your introduction should be like that, we would have never gotten that. Ever. With the bass player, David Ginyard, man, that dude is so ridiculous, man. He'll do some stuff, and if I were to tell him, hey man, no, the tune is this, we never would have gotten that. It's the same thing with everybody in the band, with Oscar and Charles, all of them, right? So I come up with general ideas about melody, structure, and all of that stuff, and the arrangement. But then these guys bring so much other stuff to it, man. I'm always fascinated. And as a result, sometimes we may change an arrangement. You know, I truly look at it as a collaborative process. That's why one of the first things I told y'all earlier, in order to do this, what do you have to do? Put your ego aside. Ego is the death knell to creativity. I'll say it again. Ego is the death knell to creativity. Soon as somebody says, man, that ain't what I do, be nervous. Because it could be true, but more than often it's not. More than often it's not. What it really means, that's what I can't do. There are a lot of things, bro, I couldn't do that I could have easily said, man, that's not me. But because I have a fascination with music, I'm like, hey, bro, let's try it. And listen, I'm telling you, those guys, when I started doing the I meter stuff, they had a lot of patience with me, man. Because it took me a while to get accustomed to it. But I'm a different musician now because of it. Okay? You had a question you want to ask me?
I guess I was just sort of tagging on to what he was saying, because it sounds like you have a pretty consistent ensemble that you play with, so you're able to kind of compose for them, and that seems like kind of a cool, I guess that's different from also your orchestral stuff, because you couldn't maybe know everybody that's in that, but it's like a more intimate kind of composing maybe, because you know those people and their styles and stuff.
Yeah, but even if I'm playing, like the gig I'm gonna play with y'all tomorrow, right? You haven't, even when you're playing Pet Steps, I didn't come in here and say, it should be this, or it should be that. Because you have your own arrangement, right? And you have your own group. So my thing as an artist is to let me see where you're coming from with the arrangement. I could easily come in and say, hey man, that's not the way we played it. But what good would that be? You know what I mean? If you came up with an arrangement, that's because you felt something about the tune. Let me try to learn what that is. You know what I'm saying? And that's the whole thing I was talking about, ego. You know, ego is generally used to cover up a lot of insecurity. Generally. And the reason why I say that is because some of the baddest musicians I've ever seen don't have that issue. Ron Carter, man, man, that dude, we were doing a gig at the Carnegie Hall, Herbie's 70th birthday jam. And the band that I was playing with was Jack DeJohnette, Ron Carter, Herbie Hancock, Wayne Shorter, and Joe Lovano, right? That was the band. And we were playing Footprints. And man, Ron, he was just working. I was talking about working out ideas. He would be playing a tune, boom, 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 boom. First he did that, boom, boom, bing, boom, did the whole chorus of that, boom. Then all of a sudden he would do another chorus, and then he would start a bass line. He would run that bass line through the changes. Next chorus, he would start another bass line, run that bass line through the changes. And I was sitting over there going, woo, woo. And it was funny because he looked over at me and go, and he went. But when he got to the gig, that's not the way he played. When he got to the gig, he played what was going on with the music. You see what I'm saying? So, like, those guys don't have, he didn't come up to me and go, man, what kind of arrangement is this on Footprints? That's not the way Footprints go. He could have done that. He's the guy that played on the records that we all listen to, playing Footprints. Him, they're all of them, him, Herbie, and Wayne, those are the dudes. You know what I'm saying? And they didn't sit there and go, man, what the hell is this crap? You see what I mean? They're sitting there talking about, no, man, what's this? Before we got there, Wayne called me up on the phone, out of the blue. I'm in Miami. I didn't even know Wayne had my phone number. He calls me up, Terrence, I gotta get that rhythm. I gotta get that rhythm, man. You know, Wayne talks, he's excited. That's how he talks. I need that rhythm. I'm like, what rhythm, man? What are you talking? I don't know what he's talking about. Footprints, man. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm singing it to him over the phone. Bum, 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 bum. And he goes, one more time. Bum, bum. Okay, I got it, man. That's that rhythm. Right? It's his tune.
Yeah.
He didn't sit there and go to me and say, hey, man, don't play my stuff like that. You see what I'm saying? That's the thing I love about those guys. And that's the biggest education that I've gotten from them is to be open. Is to be open. Wayne Shorter, that night, when we did the concert, there was another musician who wanted to play My Funny Valentine, right? He tried his damnedest to get Wayne to play it because Wayne hadn't played it in years. He refused. Not in a mean way. He just stood there and said, no, I'm not gonna do that. Why? He's moving on. He's not living in the past. He's moving on. Wayne always tells me all the time, how come the bass gotta go dum, 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 dum? Why do they have to do that? Who said that? And then sometimes he'll say, how come we can't play together at the same time? I've been on gigs with Wayne, he'll look at me and he'll do this. And it's supposed to be his solo. He's like, so he wants us to play together. Why? Because those guys are constantly searching. So even with a situation like this, like what's gonna happen tomorrow, that's gonna be me. I'm gonna be searching, listening to you guys. I'm not gonna be coming in there talking about, hey man, let's play, it should be this. No, why? Why? You know what I mean? That would be my insecurity of not being able to find out where you're coming from. So, listen, the thing about being an artist, man, is just constantly keep your options open and constantly just be open to life in general, right? Life's too short to be stuck on something, right? And Jim Brown said something in the documentary, man, that blew me away. He said it'd be a shame to go through our life without ever finding out what truly turns you on. So if while you're being protective about something, you're probably keeping yourself away from something that you really did. You don't know unless you try. Because there's a couple things y'all did in that arrangement with Pet Steps. The rhythm was a little different. And I'm going, okay. So I'm trying to figure out where that's coming from. On the melody, and a couple of little things y'all changed in the rhythm. I dig it. I don't know it. But I dig it. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm gonna try to figure it out tomorrow. Okay? Hey man, thank you.